Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and let's get ready to rumble in the ring tonight. We have got two incredible quarterfinal matchups, and highlighting those matchups will be four individual matchups between significant players that have been identified by our crew here on either team. To start out here, we've got two incredible junglers out in the ring. In the blue corner, representing Sparta Prime, it's the man, the myth, the muscle. And in the red corner, representing AoE God Squad, it's the angel himself, helping out all his lanes, the man Mel Scout, taking on the man Muscle. Sparta Prime AoE. I'm going to throw this one over to my panel as the contestants are getting ready to duke this one out. Gentlemen, how are you feeling about this jungle matchup here on our stream number one?
I'm excited. I do think that the reason why we're highlighting this one a lot, Muscle is brand new to the league. He's played 2 weeks versus of matches. First one versus YO Boomers. We can discount that. It was an easy 3-0 for them. Stomped all those games. But week 9 versus McShootums, who was the second All-Pro jungler, might I remind you, he dumpstered McShootums. Just like absolutely trashed them. Solo carried on Olaf in game number 3. Game number 2, which was a loss, he only had one more death than McShootums and still ended up having a higher gold difference at the end of the game. He was 1.6k up at 10 minutes. At the end of the game, even though they lost, 500 gold up, made McShootums a non-issue. Game number 1 also dumpstered McShootums plus 400, plus 1k, plus 2.4k at 10, 20, and at the end. And he got first blood on Puffles. This is an exciting new player to the league. I'm excited to talk about him. On the converse side, though, we have Mel Scout, who third team All-Pro. Last 2 weeks have been a little bit shaky for him, but still has very good numbers as far as assists go and as far as damage to objectives go. He's a very supportive jungler. He ends up playing more towards his other lanes and more for ganks, which at the same time leads to his gold numbers being a little bit drab. But before we get too far into that, Stingus and JVL, what are your thoughts?
You want to go ahead and go first? Okay, I got you. I'm really looking forward to it. Muscle's had a lot to say. He definitely believes in himself, so I'm looking forward to see if he can show up today. Mel Scout has been pretty consistent, not too pop-off, so we'll see how they match up.
Yeah, I'm not completely sold on the whole muscle train just quite yet. I haven't really seen him perform or play really at all. I know he has a big mouth on him, but Mel Scout, steady going, showing up every week, third team All-Pro jungler, and I'm excited to see them clash today, honestly.
We do have this big clash between the two, but while we have our experts here, of course, Stingus from Who Flashed That Fight and JVL from Lotus, our experts here in Heavy League, providing me and hopefully the rest of the audience here with a little more insight into how you think the matchup in general will go. Could talk a little bit about the teams, but given what you know about these players, gentlemen, the fact that you have come up against them in combat yourselves, how do you think this matchup goes? Who has the edge early game, late game? What are we looking at for these two?
I think Sparta Prime definitely plays the early game a lot better. They really do a good job of playing around their jungle support for the most part. So I'm really looking for them to attack the crabs and try to make fights happen. Whereas Mel Scout and AoE tend to kind of avoid fighting early. A lot of the times they will give stuff up. So it'll be interesting to see if Sparta Prime can make a big enough lead because AoE tends to give stuff away, and see if they can close off that or not.
Yeah, I think Stinkus hit it on the head pretty much. AoE definitely likes to play the more tempered, slow style of game, They have pack sacks in the back, late game, just throwing out boomerangs on Sivir or whatever it is, trying to put out the DPS, and we're going to have to see if Muscle can have a big enough impact early, maybe show up bot lane a little bit more than usual, shut down pack sacks, and how that will affect the rest of the match.
And it's worth pointing out when it comes to that early game, from last week's match versus Glaive, the jungler for Sparta Prime, Muscle, got first blood in 2 of those games. The first one on a Puffles, and then second one actually onto Giga, who a lot of people are like, oh, he's a very good weak side top laner. Well, typically, really good weak side top laners, they don't die a lot to ganks. And this time around, he ended up dying and gave first blood over. I mean, his numbers are very good from the 2 weeks in. One of those weeks obviously doesn't really count because it was against one of the worst teams in the league. But from their win versus Glaive, it looks pretty solid. Flip side, though, Mel Scout, you were saying that he doesn't really play around, or they don't really like fighting early. At the same time, he goes for... I've seen quite a few of these level 2 ganks over the last couple weeks when he's been playing the Xin Zhao. But they don't seem to have come too much into fruition, and that's a little bit of point of concern for me for Mel Scout.
We'll have to see if that does punish him. But before we head over to our second card matchup, gentlemen, do want to ask you, in an actual boxing fight, who would you take, Muscle or Mel Scout?
I mean, Muscle has his name, Muscle. I mean, you got to go with him, right? I mean,
you can see him pumping some iron there. He's ready to go.
All right, that's 2. Fiddick?
I'll go with Mel Scout.
All right, we've got 2-1 here favoring Muscle in the boxing match. But with that, we will throw it over to our second card matchup here between Puffles and Solo.
Let's go, gentlemen. RMC's joining us now. Still got our 2 experts and second tier of the matchup. Puffles taking on Solo C. We're going to dive right into the details. RMC, start me off. Where are we at in the mid lane? How does the matchup break down?
Okay, so we're in the quarterfinals here, and we've got Solo from Gamers for God versus Puffles from Glaive. This, I think, is the only matchup of the night on our fight card, which does not involve an all-pro player here. And it's a little bit surprising that we've got 2 non-all-pro players, considering, we had other members like Giga, but Solo and Puffles have been integral to their team, and I think people are kind of sleeping a little bit on them. Puffles, by the eye test, has looked amazing, especially on his Zoe. Really good at finding picks to kick action off, and I think Solo is criminally underrated as a mid laner here. He's got some really good stats. I will say this much, though. He's got the highest skill participation of all mid laners in the league, but he's also got the highest deaths, or actually the highest death of all mid laners, 6 all league right now. So that kind of balances things out, and I think that's where people are kind of sleeping on him a little bit because of all those deaths.
Dingus, JVL, similar thoughts?
I'm really looking for Solo to get Renekton. If he gets Renekton, I definitely know he's going to have a good performance. He didn't look super strong on other picks, but I think if he gets his Renekton, even if it's a bad matchup, I could still see him getting the work done he needs to do. Whereas Puffles Pool is a lot more versatile. He could perform on a lot more picks, but I don't think he's going to carry ever. He's just going to do well for himself.
Yeah, as the mid laner on this panel here, playing against both of these players before, Puffles and Solo C, I have to say, I really am not too impressed with what I've seen out of Puffles so far this split. I mean, I saw his performance on Azir, I believe 1 or 2 weeks ago. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. On the other hand, kind of what RMC said about Solo C, he is an extremely aggro laner and player. He will just take it to you pretty much the whole time. If his jungler is there to back him up and they have first move to some of the early objectives, or they're just really on top of it today, then I can see them, building a strong lead early and kind of taking over.
All right, I like it. RMC, I know you play mid lane. I'm going to take JVL's advice over yours. I think JVL might have a little more credit there in the mid lane. Sting is here with me in the bot lane. I got one more question for all 3 of you. Puffles, Solo C, obviously we talked about Renekton being an important pick. I think Puffles may have an identity to be found in his Zoe gameplay. Puffles on this Zoe, man, the guy doesn't miss bubbles, and those paddle stars to follow, they begin to hurt when you can't see what's coming. Are we getting something like this Zoe, or are we getting something with a little more agency to move around the map and make plays happen? JVL, I know you played against Puffles. You said you weren't too impressed. Maybe is Zoe coming out, or are we just going for another Puffles night in the mid lane?
I don't think I've played against Puffles Zoe yet, so I would like to see the Zoe come out. It provides a lot of prio in the lane, really easy to shove in waves, really strong setting up around objectives if your team can get there first, fish for those bubbles, get easy picks before fights happen. That can really change the tide of the mid game. So I mean, I'm hoping we see a Zoe and Renekton matchup mid lane. Put them both on their main champs and let's see what happens.
1v1 in the mid lane. Stingus, RMC. We got Zoe in mid from JVL, hopefully. I'm going to ask you two for your opinions on the final matchup. Who's coming out on top? Who's getting gapped?
I think it's going to depend on which jungler shows up today, too. Because this is going to be a very heavy mid-jungle 2v2 game. If Solok's jungler is ready, they're going to bring him to Pound Town, I think. If not, it's going to be a little rough. Gamers for God needs a lead early to get going. If they don't get that lead, they're not going to get going.
Fair enough. I think, at least from what we've seen of Puffles here, if he gets a Kali or Zoe, even the Azir, I think these sort of champions with a lot of agency on their own here, I think he'll win that 1v1, especially as, we kept saying the Renekton, but if that Renekton's banned, Solo's not looked quite as clean on the Tristana and Nocturne, at least in the 1v1. He's been good for, making map movements for team fights, but that's not the question now, is it, Necrox? It's the 1v1, and so I think I'm going to give it to Puffles here.
Okay, maybe a little bit divided here among the desk. We'll have to keep an eye on how this one plays out. Stingus is on the jungle diff train. I'm riding that one, though. Whoever jungle shows up level 2, just type jungle diff in chat. Get out of here. Let's punch our way up the card, though. Make sure it's been dumpstered. Let's get into there.
Okay, and ladies and gents, we are at the penultimate match of the night here. You heard it on the desk before. It's all about the jungles here, and we've got the two junglers for Gamers for God, and for Glaive here on the blue corner, it's going to be the man who's taking out the garbage. It's Gamers for God's Dumpstered, and on the red side here, it's all the Wild West, and Max Shoot'em says all the guns. He's been firing left and right. Glaive's jungler here. DJ joining us on the desk. He's the new analyst. And since you're new here, DJ, start us off. Talk to us about these junglers.
Well, I'll tell you what, McShoot'ems has come in hot here from mid-league all season long, and this is a man that Glaive rely on to get things done. He has one of the highest damage presences in all of Heavy League here in the jungle role. I believe actually not Yoshi on Lotus has the highest, though, JVL there. But he has been exceptional for them. A lot of the plays, a lot of importance rides around McShoot'ems. So if Dumpster can live up to his name and shut him down, dumpster him in that jungle, it could be a big advantage for Gamers for God. I know Dumpster loves to play early aggression. He loves to do the things that Stingus was mentioning, trying to hover around solo C. We'll see if he can get those advantages. But the big thing I want to call out here today, I talked to both these junglers in advance of this fight. They were not friendly during their weigh-in a couple days ago here, RMC. Neither one of these junglers actually remembers the other from their matchup. Both of them, quote, said that to me during the weigh-in. So one of them's going to have to stick out in the mind of the other one here today. We'll find out who it's going to be.
Okay, fair enough. And hey, I love to see the sparks starting in advance here. No, let's start with you, JVL, because you are a mid laner here, and your jungler is the one jungler who's beating McShoot'ems in terms of stats. So go ahead, talk to me about what you think about these junglers, and please tell me you at least know who they are.
First, really quick, shout out to Yoshi. He didn't make the all-pro list or anything, which, I mean, he's really, really underrated in the jungle. But back to McShoot'ems and Dumpstered. McShoot'ems, I think, is a really vital part of this new Glaive roster. I think he makes a lot of plays for his teams. We saw him on the Nocturne really take over one of the matches last week, I believe. Nocturne is incredibly busted, so I'm not too impressed. But I do think McShoot'ems does have the edge over Dumpstered in this matchup.
Okay, and Stingus, what about you? What are you thinking here?
I think it's going to depend on what the teams are trying to put together comp-wise, because McShoot'ems plays a lot of full clear junglers. He wants to farm, he wants to get objectives, whereas Dumpsters is trying to gank more. If this turns into like a carry versus carry jungle matchup, Dumpster is going to have an advantage there. But if it's just going to end up being a farm and an even lane, McShoots is definitely going to be way more useful later on.
Yeah, very, very different styles here, and considering what we've heard of the teams of these matchups as well, it does seem to definitely feed into that. Now, the next matchup will be about the ADC, so let's talk a little bit about that, Stingus. You're an AD carry yourself here. The carry versus the gank style junglers. Which do you think is going to be more impactful, considering the carry potential we see out of the bot lane for both these teams?
I think the teams just have very different win cons. If I'm Sparta Prime, I'm camping bot lane. I want to send their bot lane as far down as I can and get my boy going. Whereas on Glaive's side, we don't really want to interact with the 2v2. We're trying to protect them. We want to protect our laners and we want to farm. As long as nothing's happening, that's winning. And I think they're really just going to be looking for nothing to happen.
Okay,
I have some evidence to back this up. This is an and-I quote here from McShootums upon asking him whether he was a Rift Herald jungler or a Drake stacking jungler. He said Drake stacking, but he said more importantly, Tuper surviving.
fair enough there. I mean, Tuper is really solid. Just got to get him past, that early laning phase there. So definitely sounds like a plan. JVL, do you agree with that? Do you agree with Stingus's read here and how these junglers should be playing out?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's pretty clear to everyone watching that Paxax is the main and pretty much only carry on his team. So, like Stingus said, the longer in the game that nothing is happening, the better it is for AoE. So, yeah, if I'm a Sparta, I am hard focusing bot lane, getting my man boost ahead, and yeah, it's shutting down Paxax.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Technically not in the same team, but I guess the
Oh
yeah, we got a little mixy here in our matchups, gentlemen. Don't worry, Mr. Host. We'll get to that matchup in a second. You're taking Phoenix Thunder away here. There's a little bit of host competition going on around the scene at the moment, I suppose.
Well, we will get there. Last question here before we do hand it over to Phoenix to talk about Paxax and Boost here, because that is going to be our final matchup. Specifically, you guys are different roles. Stingus and JVL. Which jungler would you prefer to have on your team? Let's start with JVL.
I'm taking McShootums. McShootums camp my lane. Everything will be fine.
Okay, the dual carry jungle mid. Fair enough. Stingus, same thing. You want some ganks or you want some carry potential here?
Can I say neither?
Yeah, I suppose you can.
I didn't know this was an option.
I don't want either of them. I'm running tryouts again.
Yeah, Stingus wants not Yoshi. Take it from Lotus there. Okay, fair enough. And with that, that is the jungle card here for Glaive and Gamers Forgotten. We've got our last card coming up. Finnick, take it away.
And at the end of the night, we've got two 80 carries, two all-pro 80 carries. One from a team that has seen a late season resurgence, and another one from a team that's quietly been getting through the season in this top four. And now it is time for Paxax versus Boost's Success, and the blue corner, Paxax 80 carry for the one and only AoE Esports God Squad. And on the red side, representing Sparta Prime, it's Boost's Success. Necrox, take it away.
Let's go. This matchup is hype. And these two, I swear they're copying each other's homework, Finnick. I messaged both of them before the game. Give me your thoughts on the matchup. And they both said the same thing. I am better in every aspect. The numbers may not be that way, but these two are so confident, not only their ability to win lane on Varus and dumpster their opponent, but also thinking they can carry team fights. The numbers don't line up that way, sadly, for both of these members. Paxax leads in just about every single category, including KDA, including damage per minute, but Boost, we talked about it before, has some high highs. I can't take all the credit, though. We got an 80 carry sitting right next to me. This guy knows more than I ever could about the bot lane. Stingus, please enlighten me. How can Boost win this lane?
If I'm Sparta Prime here, I want really, really aggro 2v2s. I want something that can make fights happen all the time, and something that can help the jungler. A Thresh is really good. Lantern ganks are really OP. Karma's a good look. Lots of move speed can help you get those ganks in. In lane phase, Boost is definitely stronger. But after lane, that's a toss-up. I think Paxax definitely team fights a little bit better. Boost positions way more aggressively in fights, which can get him caught out. Whereas Paxax is standing 8 miles away. He doesn't really want to interact. He doesn't want to get skill checked. He wants to just get as many free hits as he can.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, pretty much exactly what Stinky said, echoing him again on the bot lane matchup here. But yeah, Boost has the higher mechanical ceiling, and he does have a more pop-off potential over.
JVL?
Uh-oh. I thought it was me.
It appears we lost JVL, so back to the Stingus show. Tell me a little bit more about these 80 carries. Mr. Unfortunately snubbed AD carry. I don't know who snubbed
Yeah.
you of that
Yeah, we'll
all-pro
see about
spot.
We'll see who wins again. Yeah, right now the AD carry meta's a little bit stale. It's mostly support matchup, so I'm gonna be looking at way more 2v2s looking for them. Whereas Paxax and his support are probably not looking to fight. They're really just waiting on who's their jungler again?
For which team? For Sparta
Or
Prime?
AoE.
Oh, AoE. That is Mel Scout.
Mel Scout, yeah. They're really just kind of waiting for him, to be honest, but he's not super active. We'll see how it goes. Welcome back, JVL. You ready
Thank
to?
you.
Welcome
I'm
back.
getting DDoSed over here. I think I said the wrong thing about the wrong player.
Man, these two honestly are so closely pitted. I know Paxax has a numbers advantage all across the board, but I gotta agree with my colleagues here, Finnick. Boost is always looking to gap at every corner. Paxax, very good at being a safe AD carry, very good at playing these backline marksmen like the Jinx, like the Ezreal, like even the Poke Vars, who don't really have to interact all too much in team fights. But Boost, there's a very different story on the line. You're aggressive in your champion pool. The Samira is a very dangerous threat. If you don't draft against it, Samira can rip through your team with the Inferno trigger. And I want to see Boost put on those carry pants tonight and really show Paxax why he deserves to be the best AD carry in Heavy.
And the question you all have been waiting for, who do you see winning the AD carry matchup tonight?
Yeah, I don't want to go first on this one. Please
well,
don't make me
let's
go.
start with JVL.
Stingis.
JVL, you go.
Stingis. Okay.
Get this out of here.
I'm gonna have to give it to Boost because overall I think Sparta Prime's playstyle as a team is what AoE do not want to play against specifically. I think Sparta Prime's playstyle of playing aggro, of skill checking opponents throughout the entirety of the game, I think that's what could ultimately lead to them kind of running through a series if they get ahead.
Stingus, what about you?
Yeah, I have a similar line of thinking. AoE, they want to wait. They want to scale. But can you scale fast enough before you lose? That's going to be the question of the night. I think Sparta Prime is going to take it to him. I think Boost is going to pop off tonight. This is going to be a close one though. I think it'll be a 3-0 or a 3-1, but the games are going to be tight. The games are going to be really tight.
And Necrox in the AD carry matchup, who do you have winning?
I'm going the other way around. I actually am going to take a different opinion from JVL and Stingus here for two reasons. First, new support in for Sparta Prime. It's no longer Enos, it's no longer Alex. It's new. It's L9 Sight Zone. So who knows how this 2v2 is going to play out. We'll see if he can do anything to help Boost at all in the aggressive lane. The other reasoning, best of 5 series are a whole different monster than a 3-block. Game 1 is often so freaking crazy and so fight-filled that Boost may actually get an advantage in Game 1. I'm willing to mention that. But I think the following games, whoever loses is going to be so pedal off the metal. They're going to give up waves. They're going to give up opportunities to fight. And that's where Paxax begins to shine. If the series draws out to a long series, Paxax will take it at the end.
Well, that leaves my final question for the night. For both these series, who do you have winning and in what score line? Once again, we'll start with JVL. For both series, what do you got?
Okay, for both series, I think the Sparta and AoE series is obviously, I think, a little bit of the closer, tighter series. I'm going to say Sparta 3-2. I think it's going to be really close. I think it could definitely go to Game 5. And for Glaive, Gamers for God, sorry. I think Glaive is going to 3-0.
Stingus, on to you.
Glaive 3-0. I would love if Gamers for God won a game. I don't think they will, but it would be awesome if they did. And then 3-1 for Sparta, I think.
Okay, and Necrox, my fellow caster brethren, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm notoriously bad with predictions. Every time you guys ask me, I get it like completely wrong. I think Stingus is right about the first series. I think it's almost impossible for me to get this one wrong, but of course, the caster curse is always so real. I'm going to go 3-0, maybe 3-1 there, but I'll stick with a gut 3-0 for Glaive. They've looked too good throughout the regular season to lose to Gamers for God, unless there's some come to Jesus moment for these guys. They're probably just going to get gapped in every position. The other game, though, I'm going to disagree. I think AoE actually can win this series on the back of pack sacks. I take the matchup in bot lane and I roll with it all the way through. Still going to be a 3-2. Game 5 is going to be crazy. I'm hyped to be there. I'm glad I'm getting a chance to cast it, but this one is really close, but I'm just barely going to give the edge to AoE.
Well, we'll see if those predictions play out or if they edge about as well as our all-pro AD carry spots have. That said, we're going to take it to a quick break, but when we return, Necrox will not be here. Instead, it will be DJ and Stingus on the mainstream, taking you into game number 1 between AoE and Sparta Prime. You won't want to miss this.